This is Update 1, the podcast of the National Press Club in Washington, D.C. Update 1 provides a forum for listeners to learn about national and international stories, focusing on journalism and communication issues, news, and politics. Now, the latest edition of Update 1.
This is Adam Konowe at the Paris Air Show, aviation industry's largest biennial trade event. And I'm here with Tim Robinson. He is editor-in-chief of Aerospace magazine. Tim, thanks for joining me.
Thanks. Nice to be here.
Tell me a little bit about Aerospace magazine. Who publishes it?
It's the monthly magazine of the Royal Aeronautical Society. So it's a monthly magazine. We also have a blog. There's social media involved, and it's really a kind of like a sort of industry digest, full of news, articles, think pieces, analysis, and it's aimed at industry professionals from all parts of the global aerospace, aviation and space industry, from students to CEOs.
And most of your writers on staff or freelancers, how does the magazine work?
There's two full-time writers, myself and my deputy editor, and then the rest of the magazine is put together through kind of freelance contributors.
So this show is obviously one that you cover regularly. What brings you back year after year?
It's just a wonderful showcase to meet up with people, to find news, to really kind of get a deep dive in some of the issues, and have everybody in one place. That's really great. I mean, it provides so much news and content for us. We just have to keep coming back.
Mm-hmm. So as a magazine that represents the industry, like you said, from students to CEOs, how is your editorial approach to this event different than perhaps somebody from a more mainstream media outlet, do you think?
That's difficult to say. I think it's our approach. Obviously, we've got a more slightly. The Aeronautical Society, we're not a lobbying organisation, we're a membership organisation, so our members are interested in us asking hard questions, but at the same time I don't think we are as much in the business of breaking scoops or those sort of news stories, sort of chasing down those sort of news stories. So it's kind of keeping the industry on its toes, but it's still at the same time being broadly supportive. I think that's about right.
So this industry, this event has a lot of different kinds of aviation, right? Commercial aviation, military aviation. So let's start with the commercial side. What did you see this week that was of interest?
Well, obviously, we've still got the fallout from the Boeing 737 MAX crisis. First big air show after the grounding. It's cost them a lot. They were here in Boeing here in a very sort of subdued, very remorseful mood. A lot of apologies. But on the second day they came back and there was actually an order from IAG for 200 Maxes, and IAG is the parent airline group of British Airways, Iberia, etc. A noteworthy customer, usually Airbus customer as well. Mm-hmm. So that's a nice boost of. It's a vote of confidence in the Max's future from a very important airline group. So I think that they've come out of it better than people might have expected.
Right. And then on the military side, anything newsworthy?
Yeah, I mean, it's been very exciting this week. We've had two stealth fighter mock-ups revealed. The first one is the Franco-German, and now with Spain, FCAS, or what they're calling it now is Next Generation Fighter, NGF. And that is to replace the Eurofighter and a Rafale in European air arms. So this is a common aircraft for the 2040s. It's very vague at the moment. It's going to be a stealth fighter, obviously. But the interesting stuff is the kind of ecosystem and the combat cloud and the kind of mini drones that are going to come with it. That are going to be sort of AI robot wingmen that all kind of tie in together. That's been some of the most interesting stuff. And then we've also had Turkey coming in. They've revealed their TFX stealth fighter. It's an indigenous design. They're trying to go their own way, and obviously now we have there is an issue because of the fallout over Turkey wanting to buy a Russian SAM system and F-35, and people are looking at that and wondering, well, does that make TFX more likely if they go their own way?
More broadly, from a technology perspective, I know your magazine covers a lot of sort of future trends and things like that. What did you see in terms of either talk about alternative fuels or other sort of environmental type things? Was that much of an emphasis this year, or was the technology stories that you saw different?
There's been a massive interest, a massive amount of stuff going on about electrification of aviation, hybrid electric, the third age of aerospace people are talking about, and when you sort of heard it, maybe sort of two previous parishes, you thought, this sounds a bit of a buzzword that maybe won't go anywhere. Here we're actually still seeing real progress. There's big names involved. Rolls-Royce has bought Siemens Electric e-propulsion division. They want to get into the electric propulsion. We've got hybrid electric aircraft, popping up, or designs, concepts popping up all over the place. Demonstrators being launched. There's a all-electric aircraft called Alice, which is set to fly later this year or early 2020. And the thing like this, it's not just about the environment, but people are looking there for short-haul flights, point-to-point flights. Replacing a kind of a turbine or a turboprop or a piston with an electric aircraft, let's say under 100 nautical miles, you could slash your operating costs by 80%.
So this isn't just about PR. This really is about the economics that going to a different fuel source could bring.
That's right. I mean, there's challenges. There's definitely challenges, yeah. But there are people there who are getting very excited about the potential sort of Uber-style disruption that there could be in the industry of suddenly being able to fly point to point very, very cheaply. Ticket prices come down, and you can avoid the major airports. And that major airports, people go in there, they get stuck in there 2 hours at a time. If you can fly direct and it's short distances, that's really, really attractive.
You've come to a number of these events over the years. Have you seen any sort of evolution in terms of how companies put out their news in these events versus what you would have seen, 5-10 years ago?
Oh yes, I mean it's definitely evolved. When I first started on this, over a decade ago, we were carrying press kits. That we had suitcases full of press kits, paper, wads and wads of that. It then transferred to some kind of USBs or CDs, and now you've got a QR code. And the company will just be sending you tweets, So it's a lot more social. Companies now have wised up to the importance of social media. Before they were a bit nervous of it, they didn't like to get involved. Now you've got their chief executives, you've got people there. There's a bit of playfulness in it as well. Some companies have decided, that a bit of a joke and a bit of there's a fun aspect in it is the way of catching attention. It has definitely changed.
And what does that mean for you as an editor covering this beat of aerospace? The fact that the way companies and presumably, even governments communicate, some of them might do it better, some of them might be a little bit more restrictive, but what does that do for you as an editor trying to cover the news as you see it for the members that read your magazine?
Well, our goal at this thing is I said there's only two of us, so we cannot hope to scratch the surface here. We could be here, months and months and still don't see anything. But what we're trying to do is give a flavour of the show, a digest of the most important stories, a bit of our expert analysis and thinking, and give people a flavour, and also a balance between all the different sectors, geographically and space, GA, defence, so that all our members who are in these different areas or live around different parts around the world feel that they've got something out of it, and that we're representing them.
Great. Tim, thank you very much.
Thank you. Good to be here. Yep.
Tim Robinson is editor-in-chief of Aerospace magazine, published by the Royal Aeronautical Society. You can learn more at www.aerosociety.com. For Update 1, I'm Adam Konowe.
Update 1 is a production of the National Press Club's Broadcast Podcast Committee. You can comment on this podcast or any episode of Update 1 by sending an email to update1podcast, that's update the number 1 podcast, @gmail.com. Thanks for listening to Update 1.